Hi everyone, this is Ramanuj here, and welcome to this webinar, much awaited. We have with me Nitin Poddar, who is a senior partner at JSA, doing merger and acquisitions and many other interesting corporate law work, transactional work, and he's a very renowned and well-respected lawyer for his work, and he has been doing this for a very long time. And today's discussion is, of course, regarding how do we deal with this crisis that we are facing, the world is facing today, and many lawyers are struggling with the current situation, and they are quite out of their wits as to what possibly they can do in the given circumstances, and how to take their career forward, and how things will look like in a few weeks or a few months. Would it be business as usual as lockdown lifts? How long it will take to lift the lockdowns, and exactly what will happen afterwards? And how to take your career forward in this uncertain environment. And with us, we have Nitin Poddar sir, who has seen multiple recessions, multiple crises before also. Even when one of the major crises in India, when we faced in 1990s, which led to the reforms of 1991 and India signing up with the WTO and all that happened. Before that also, India faced a tremendous economic crisis. After that, 2008-9 was another crisis. And we have with him, and he has a lot of experience of having seen everything. He would be helping us today with his insights and sharing his ideas on how today's lawyers should take their career forward. And I would be asking questions. And this is a topic that is very interesting to me also. I've been writing about this quite a bit. And some of you may have come across my writing. So for me also, it's a great opportunity to learn from sir. So let's welcome Nitin Poddar, and let's begin the session. Hello, sir.
Hi, Ramanuj. Good evening.
Good evening.
And good evening to all the colleagues who have joined the conference webinar on this subject. And I must say that, you really, I think this must be the first of the webinar on this kind of subject for the law students. And I really appreciate, Ramanuj, your efforts and your team's effort in building this, taking up this topic, because I guess the law students, this is primarily for the law student, isn't it?
No, sir. We have lawyers, law students, in-house counsel. In
Okay.
fact, with your permission, I'd like to ask everybody
Yeah, sure.
to introduce themselves. That everybody in this session, if you can quickly write a line about yourself, your name, and where are you logging in from, and what do you do in life? Are you a litigator, or are you a law student, or are you an in-house counsel, or what do you exactly? Maybe a chartered accountant or company secretary. If you can quickly share what is your name and what you do in one sentence, would be great. We would know better as to how to add value to you as well.
Absolutely. So I can see Nachiket, I can see Kashish, Ahan, Aloykika, Shruti, Manisha. Oh, great.
So many
So there
associates,
mix of lawyers and students both.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. Okay, so let me begin by saying that we are in a, as you rightly mentioned, we are in an extraordinary phase, I would say. Uh, I don't, in my career, I have seen recessions, but this is the first time I've seen the world being completely locked down, and it will have its own implications. Currently, we can only estimate, or rather anticipate and estimate. But the first in the first very first reactions on what could happen because of this lockdown and because of the coronavirus, two things. One is, because of the coronavirus, there could be many more deaths till such time we find a proper medical solution to that. Secondly is on the fallout on the legal aspect. So uh, on the economic front, rather, I would say. So first thing, there are a couple of, I would just mention a couple of points. One is, there will be massive breach of contractual obligations, as I see, and this will be across the industry, across sectors. It is sector agnostic breaches. So we'll have to figure out as to how do we really come out of that, because some people are saying it amounts to force majeure, some say it doesn't amount to force majeure. So there will be uh, there will be uh, 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 there will be the fallouts on and interpretational issues on breach of contractual obligations. That's number one, and that's huge. Second is there will be heavy losses in some of the industries like hotel industry, aviation industry, travel, tourism industry. So there are many industries which will, some of the industries may quickly start post the lockdown is lifted, but some of the industries may continue to face the invisible lockdown. I may say, like tourism, hotel industry, and that kind of stuff. So their loss will be much more bigger than than the other industries which may quickly recover.
Also, sir, if even if there is a lockdown is lifted earlier, it's very much possible and mostly probable that we would not be able to so soon control the spread of the virus, because even in China it is so right now that they have lifted the lockdown in most places, but at the same time they're saying they have contained it mostly, but it is still spreading in different parts. It's not completely
Absolutely,
stopped.
you're absolutely right.
So
So
people will continue to be afraid, and many offices have to be operate on a work from home basis, because people will still continue to use precaution and not.
correct. Correct. That's precisely the point I'm making. That, for example, aviation industry or hotel industry, tourism industry, those industries will really take time to really get out of the whole lockdown situation. So losses could be colossal. The word colossal will lose its meaning to my mind after some time. Uh, at the same, so okay. Third point is that there will be loss of jobs in the manufacturing sector, service industry, auto sector will be much more badly affected. So there will be loss of jobs. So on one hand, we say that the industries will go down simultaneously or parallelly. There will be loss of jobs. Having said this, once we are slightly out of this, there could be I see really boom in two three industries. One will be a healthcare industry. In a country like India, don't get surprised if the government announces tomorrow that we want to completely revamp the whole healthcare segment of the country, and we want to have aims like hospitals across the country. Private hospitals will also want to expand. Medical colleges will want to. There will be exponential growth in the medical colleges of students, nurses, paralegals, and pathology labs. So healthcare sector, I see a quite um, substantial boom. Equally, I see a big boom in the IT sector, because the dependency on IT of virtually every business will increase. Every business will want to adopt technology in some form or the other, and they will want to be prepared for this such kind of eventuality. So I see IT sector and healthcare sector. Also, along with that, there will be boom in the education sector, online courses, and people will want to learn and understand more. So these are the couple of 3 4 sectors where I see a lot of boom. Speaking for M&A, which is my practice area, M&A, I see a mixed bag. It is a bit early to predict as to what would happen to M&A, but I still, my hunch says that there will be increase in the M&A activity. That is because the valuations have gone down or will go down substantially. Uh, Not only valuations will go down, some of the businesses may seem unviable, so they will have to either sell, trim down, collaborate with someone or the other, with something or the other, someone or the other. So I honestly, my hunch is that M&A activities will increase. It may, we'll have to deal with the situation with each and every M&A. We'll have to deal with different tools. But that will happen on the M&A front. Private equity
So I
investments.
just wanted to share quickly that in Italy, report came through that a lot of M&As lot of acquisitions are happening. Chinese companies are buying up Italian companies very fast. Of course, they have some cash reserves, whereas Italy was suffering as an economy even before. And now, after coronavirus situation, there's very rapid acquisitions happening in Italy. So I think that will happen across the world. I mean, it's inevitable that
Yes,
businesses will
correct.
require some funds also to continue to run and to be viable. And if they do not have the funds, it's better to sell rather than shut it down. That is the
So,
situation.
so I see private equity players, private equity managers, or private equity operators playing a very very major role in this, because they really have the global private equity players have access to multiple businesses. They understand businesses, so they will be the prime drivers, and they will be really able to extract the maximum good value out of this kind of M&A activities. Also, companies which has deep pockets, or they are sitting on cash, they may really go on become wild and go for acquisition. But I see sensible private equity playing a major role in the M&A sphere. Now, coming to the legal industry, while this all the various industries will happen, and we can go on analyzing, there is enough material current right now itself. There is enough material on the net as to what are the implications of this lockdown across the globe and across the industry, and which is available. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that.
Sir, there is a question about the banking sector, if you don't mind. I think it's also.
I'm sorry.
There's a question about the banking sector, like what's going to happen in the banking and lending, if you can.
See, banking is the lifeline and the blood, lifeline for all the industries. So if the industries go down, if the turnover and if the cash movement of cash itself is less, how will even banking industry will suffer in its own way. But having said this, they were already under pressure. So I see banking, banking, private equity, because all those who have money will be the prime drivers of M&A activities. But banking as such, banking will have its own impact, because there's a global. We are talking of a global recession completely, and it will stay for a long time, and therefore even banking will suffer. Insurance, by the way, will insurance sector will have a better opportunity. Health insurance and other sectors will have better opportunity. Now coming to you want to add anything, Ramanuj, on any other industry?
Sir, I think banks have to be recapitalized. I mean, there is not any option, because many banks will begin failing as the lockdown is lifted. It will be a very hard situation, because anyway they were under a lot of stress. So some banks may fail, we may see, and more marginal acquisition for that purpose to save those banks, or cash infusion by the government, or in some other form. There will be a lot of activities for sure, and there is no option. If you have to pull the government, the economy out of out of the hole, then you'll have to invest in the banks definitely. So banks will also get rescued also, I believe. Not only in India, across the world this will happen.
Yes, you're right. Right.
So that is one thing. The other thing is that lending activity has to go up, because you have to put cash back into the system.
So you are right. While you say that lending activity has to improve, but as far as specifically India is concerned, we are suffering an NPAs, a huge book of NPAs. How are we going to handle those NPAs? Because on one hand
we have to infuse fund, private parties will see there is an opportunity for sure. So once things looks better, even private investment in banks is very likely, because after all, banking and finance is one of the most profitable sectors. And it is not like there is no money in the world. There is money. So people would be eventually putting in money in the banking sector, I believe, in privately or even through the government.
That's right. Okay, coming to I can see a lot of points being raised on the chat, but friends, I will have to just allow us to just make the initial points, and then we, in the form of questions, we can take. And Ramanuj, maybe someone from your team can go through the questions and keep some of the important points at the Q&A session at the end, so we can meaningfully address.
We'll pick up a lot of questions towards the end. Yeah.
Okay. Now coming to the legal industry, what is there for us as lawyers? So I was reading one article day before yesterday on Forbes, and they said that the legal industry will really thrive. In fact, the word that they have used is that legal industry will turbocharge. Obviously, because as I mentioned, force majeure very clearly it's not defined, or it doesn't come under the force majeure. The coronavirus doesn't come under the force majeure, though there are views that it will fall under the section 56 of the Indian Contract Act as frustration of the contract. Globally also, I'm sure people will want to interpret, but given the situation as it is, there will be litigation. And one interesting point on this will be, irrespective of whether whether the coronavirus falls within the definition of force majeure or not, you will find an interesting situation, Ramanuj, here, and I must mention this. Say, for example, I am a company and I want to take advantage of this particular default and try to file suit against someone, saying that, look, no, your default is not falling under the under the force majeure, and therefore I will execute my rights, or I'll implement my rights against you, enforce my rights against you. Equally, in the same breath, I would also have defaulted in some other context.
Yes.
So therefore, to my mind, every company will whilst they will be entitled to enforce their rights under, say, under 5 or 6 occasions or on contractual breaches, they would themselves would have also breached some of their contracts.
Possibly.
So it will be very interesting to see what positions they take in both the side of litigation. So I see a very interesting position coming. But given the situation, I see that legal industry litigation will really increase, because corporations, firms, governments, all these things will, they can't afford but to go for litigation.
Yes.
And
And sir, what will happen is that even now they should be, renegotiating renegotiating contracts. If they're smart, they will start renegotiating contracts.
Yes,
Now
you are absolutely right. In fact, there are a couple of companies who already, are in the process of engaging lawyers to re-examining their existing contracts and the liabilities, and what could be the fallout. And also, they are what they want lawyers to examine their what are the rights and obligations vis-a-vis their suppliers and their vendors.
Yes,
It is
we
already
are
happening.
our students also, that you start reaching out to SMEs and startups and
Yes.
start offering them it as a pro bono or low bono service, that we
Yes.
will take a look at your contracts and tell you what can be the problem. Or there is, for
Yes.
example, there are opportunity to give a notice for, there's something called anticipatory breach of contract. So you anticipate the other party is going to breach, you can give an anticipatory breach of notice of anticipatory breach. So then the other party has an obligation to
Yes.
say that no, we want the delivery of the contract, etc. So now, given this situation, there's a lot of work for lawyers even right now. Not everybody is able to realize what work they have to do, but I think that there is a great opportunity even right now to renegotiate.
One more fallout, and which is a very big fallout. Therefore, I kept it for the last to mention here, and which is also a good fallout, I would say. Again, it is just being discussed. In the last couple of years, India has already been talked as the alternative site for manufacturing compared to China, in comparison to China. So
Yes.
this discussion, I have seen this discussion, and I am privy to cover a couple of exchange of correspondence between really large corporations, and and all those who are already in China, they are looking at alternate site, and they have freezed in their mind that yes, India is the alternate site for manufacturing.
And
Those
Apple
who-
has announced this also. Apple has already announced.
Yes. There are companies who were on the fence as to whether China or India. They have also almost freezed their mind that India is the better place to go for manufacturing. And all the companies who in future wanted to set up some kind sort of manufacturing base or shift manufacturing base from their parent or other parts of the world, they are clearly they have identified India as the hub for manufacturing. So I clearly see that there will be, in the next 2 to 3 years, there will be a huge investment cycle again coming, like what we saw in the 1991 to 96, 97 phase. During that time, I used to do almost 12 to 13 collaborations almost in 2 to 3 weeks. So it was a time where it was destination India. Again, I see that phase coming, and we should be. And my request for young lawyers is that you really should be prepared for that kind of inbound investment, because even if you are able to get one good big client for managing their greenfield project or their collaboration, that will be good enough for you to really sustain for some time or start your practice.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, coming to this is about the economic situation. This may undergo change because we are in a dynamic situation. But these are the earlier trends. I would say the magnanimity and the degree in which what we are talking may only change a little bit. Now let me talk about because we are lawyers, therefore, and the topic that you asked me, Ramanuj, is how should we plan our career? So I see uh, two types of structural changes happening in the legal industry. One is the process of practice may change. Uh, Hear me out, carefully, friends. The process of practice being changing, number one, and secondly, the legal provisions which you are applying for the business around the world, that also is changing. Let me explain and let me give example. Yesterday, Supreme Court, day before yesterday, Supreme Court heard some few urgent matters on virtual argument. So I see it has been successfully done. So if it has been successfully done, even I heard that the Bombay Bar has requested the Chief Justice of Mumbai High Court that he would like to hear urgent matters on why can't we have virtual hearings. So just consider a situation. Even if 10% matters, I'm talking of 10%, 10, that's it. 10% of the backlog that we have currently in the courts of law, which is roughly some 3 crore or 3.5 crore matters which are pending across all forums. Even 10% of the matters go virtual. Imagine the workload that will be thrown open. And are the current lawyers really physically ready and but to face this challenge or take this opportunity? Answer is big no. Trust me, answer is big no. And the reason for that is that the current senior lawyers, I would say, senior or those who are already busy in their practices, they are not that tech savvy. To expect some lawyers to quickly go on the laptop, log on to virtual courtrooms, have arguments, onto multiple formats, is not that easy job. So therefore, that to my mind opens up a big opportunity for the young lawyers. That look, the process of practice is changing, and the process is not just. I'm not talking of the process in terms of only virtual hearing. That's the tip of the iceberg. Lot of substantial changes may happen in the process. We don't know.
Filing, registry, then everything.
Exactly, absolutely. Even in filing, registry, and that kind of stuff. Now, what is the opportunity? I'm Ramanuj, I'm more concerned, or I would like to more dwell into the opportunities for the young lawyers. Now,
Yes.
the opportunity is that don't expect government or the existing judicial system, the people who are working in the judicial system, to come up with something radical to change the system. No, that is not going to happen. It is you will have to drive the change. So you will have to come up with, you will have to really study. You will have to really study. You'll have to, am I visible, Ramanuj?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. So you will have to, my earnest request is that young lawyers should focus on various forums. We should focus on various processes of the courts and really be part of the change. Digitization, as Anand Narayan is saying, digitization of court is inevitable. Absolutely, what you are saying, Anand, is absolutely right. You will have to, now, don't wait for someone else to make the change. You should be the instrumental to change. If you are instrumental to change, you see the opportunity what you can really adopt.
And how
So
can
that
they
is,
do it, sir? How can they do it?
well, you will have to really understand the process. To give a very classic example, what is digitization? Digitization, as understood 10 years back or 15 years back when computers started, people felt that doing PDF copies of documents, and stacking it in computers is digitization. That is not digitization. You'll have to evolve processes which will help, which will really bring the digitization what is expected. Now, let me give example. In 2000, there was I think now it will be, now also it must be present. In Singapore, there is an e-court where banks, first of all, when they lend, the agreement is in digital form. The lending agreement is in digital form. So you sign a lending agreement. If there is a default, automatic notices goes to the lender. If the default persists, the bank can go and file online suit in the court of law. Once they file online suit, the summonses and everything, documentation is reached to the lender. The hearing takes place online. Now, my point is, we'll have to evolve the process. You'll have to really understand and be creative about the process. Digitization doesn't mean only putting the documents into computer files. No, that's not digitization. You have to digitize the process. You have to come up with creative methodology of how do you come with digitization process. Now, for this, you will need to understand technology. I'm coming to that in the second part of my discussion. Second most important thing, what will happen is, so I said two structural changes will happen. One will be the process of practice will undergo change, and you will have to work on making that process happen, or be creative in the process. The third one, the second change will happen is the law with regard to doing business. Now, every business, Ramanuj, I am seeing very clearly, typically, historically, how it was happening. So a car manufacturer was manufacturing a car, or a chemical, or any manufacturer was manufacturing the car. Today, that manufacturing happens to third parties, to vendors across the globe. How does the vendor get searched, or how does the vendor get evaluated? That gets evaluated vendors or suppliers gets evaluated based on data analytics, based on artificial intelligence. Then the entire distribution channel today is through e-commerce or through e-retail. Now that is a different sphere altogether. So I am seeing any business model is not the typical business model that we have seen historically. The business models are undergoing change. The patterns of compliances, the requirement of compliances are undergoing change. We are clearly seeing the requirement of ESG, like what we have ESG is already been instituted by SEBI in the listing agreement. So ESG is coming. So if on one hand, while you have to sustain the business, you have to also be conscious of environment, you have to be social, and you have to have the management has to have governance. Now this will need different set of laws. This will need different rules and regulations, and guidelines and principles. And this, to my mind, this guidelines and principles will be global. Of course, every country will have its own regulations and rules, but I am seeing increasingly the compliance is being getting uniform, and it will be applied globally across the countries. Every company virtually has some kind of global presence. So therefore, even if you are present in India, even if you are present in say 2-3 states, there's a different set of compliances. Now imagine a situation where an Indian company or any company is present in 5-6 countries. So what kind of compliances we are looking at? So we'll have to. So there will the legal framework with regard to doing business, compliance, collaborations, mergers, acquisitions, private equity, shareholders' rights, stakeholders' rights. This all is undergoing a sea change. It is changing gradually, which is not quickly visible, but we'll need to track that. So that is okay. Along with that, what happens is,
don't you feel that the current crisis will definitely accelerate many of those changes, which would have happened in next 10 years, is happening in the next week?
absolutely, you are bang on point. You are absolutely bang on point. That's where I mentioned, I refer to ESG. Not only ESG, but ESG. Now this COVID situation is going to really accelerate the requirement of changes in the laws what we need to make. For example, definition of force majeure may undergo change, or we need to relook at those changes, the contractual obligations,
Even
government
CSR,
obligations.
I think, will change in a big way. Like if there is to be any kind of preparedness in the future for any kind of environmental catastrophe or this kind of catastrophe where there is a epidemic, then the corporates will have to respond. So increasingly, governments will legislate to make sure that there is preparedness in the companies, in the organizations, to respond to such things as a
Yes.
one this thing. So,
Yes.
so
Yes.
that
So coming back and not losing the canvas of our discussion, one is the process of practice may undergo change, or other will have to undergo change. And secondly, the substantive law with regard to doing business itself will change. Doing business and compliances will change globally. Now that's where I see a big opportunity. Now,
Sir, I want to add a third point to that.
Sure, please.
Perhaps even the way lawyers work, that is going to change in a big way. So I see two major changes. One is that work from home probably is going to become a norm for a while, at least for a foreseeable future. Nobody's saying in next 6 months, 1 year, it will be a very risky situation until we find a vaccine, which doesn't look like happening immediately. Nobody is actually saying anymore that we'll get a vaccine in the next month or two. If it happens, a different thing. But if there is no vaccine, then there'll always be a risk of traveling, of going to the court. And even if the court is possible, but even then, there may be more flexibility after the experience of next 1 or 2 months, that lawyers may start doing more work from home. And there are
Yes.
questions about data protection, confidentiality, and many
Yes.
other things. But apart from that, also they will have to learn to manage their teams in a different way, because till now it has been a very collegial thing that, you are sitting in front of me and I'll manage you that way. But as things become more remote, lawyers will have to adopt to, project management tools, perhaps productivity trackers, like different kind of technology.
I'm coming to that, Ramosh. I'm coming to that. That what you're saying is absolutely right, and we need to really be conscious of, not in all this stuff. So I'll just come to that.
Sure,
Now the third point, third structural change will happen is that there will be a lot of online. There will be a lot of online work that will get done. I see a lot of young lawyers setting up online law firms, online ODRs, online providing online solutions to small violations or some compliances, that kind of stuff. That will really increase, and I honestly see a really big time opportunity there. Because please understand, in India we have almost 3.5 crore of SME and MSME. They are not tech savvy, but they will have to be. They will need to be able to comply. So these online facilities of lawyers or of the boutique law firms will really benefit if they focus in their own on their own set of area of work. LPO industry will also increase, so you will have also opportunity to work on LPOs. Now, this is broadly what the broad changes I felt will happen. Again, the situation is dynamic and it is changing, so we have to keep track of what's really happening. Raman, you want to add anything before I go to planning your career? And I have 5-6 points on that. So please add if you want to add anything on the structural front of legal practice.
Sir, I think in the structural front, there will be one change that I foresee is that there would be like a lot of global exchange, because right now there is a lot of geographicality to law practice, that, this is the local place where I practice. But, once you realize that there is not so much difference in the laws between different countries, especially a lot of practice areas, it's pretty much the same. Even in India, somebody who practices in Bhopal rarely takes up a matter in Raipur, or for that matter drafts a contract for somebody in Delhi or Bombay. And I think because of this remote work and people being comfortable working online with lawyers, we may suddenly see that a major change within India itself, where people from smaller cities are doing a lot of work for bigger cities and so on. Like there will be cost arbitrage as well. So somebody sitting in Bhopal may be able to do a certain contract much cheaper than somebody doing it in Delhi. And these kind of opportunities which are unthinkable for so far, that
Yes.
somebody from Chennai will be doing some contract for somebody in Bombay, or do litigation advisory. And tomorrow, if there are virtual courts for all, people may be able to even appear in different courts through a virtual mode. So
You're right.
so
You're
those
right.
things will be
Absolutely.
very interesting to see, that people building pan-India practices without requiring a local presence in the form of a physical office.
Correct. Correct. Okay. So in next 10 minutes, what I'll do is I have planned. I have jotted down some few points for planning your career. So let me just quickly go through those, and then we'll have 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes for question answers of the points which our colleagues have mentioned. We can quickly take those points. So firstly, whether a law student or a lawyer, what should he really do? I think we need to really spend time in understanding technology. As I mentioned, we need to really spend time in understanding technology. We When I say technology, is what it is not just the physical hardware of virtual conferences or that kind of stuff, but when I say technology, it is artificial intelligence, data analytics, and everything that goes into it. Now, don't and treat this technology as a tool. If you want to treat this as a subject, you are absolutely ready. You should there is a lot of opportunity there, and you should also I encourage you to take up this as a subject. But more importantly, every one of us will have to spend time in understanding what is artificial intelligence, what is data analytics, how is it implemented. So we need to take up this as a subject. apart from the legal subjects that we have studied, we need to understand the practical aspects of artificial intelligence, practical aspects of data analytics. How is it working? How people apply this to various industries? How is it impacting us? So I see I see without that, how engineers, typically your electrical engineer or IT engineer or any other engineer, how are they recruited? They are recruited based on the extra skills on all these subjects. So similarly, lawyers, tomorrow what will happen is this: your AI and data analytics. This will become one of the tool for us to really practice. So we need to understand this, and not only understand on a standalone basis, but understand how is it applied into different industry segments. We need to really understand that. It is no good for a lawyer to say I don't understand artificial intelligence. Or if some data comes to you, or some analysis comes to you based on artificial intelligence or data analytics, you should be able to appreciate that as to the process or the methodology adopted to arrive at that analytics, or arrive at the conclusions based on the artificial intelligence or based on the data analytics. Second most importantly, friends, as lawyers, we tend to focus more on our legal subjects. That is absolutely must, because that's the backbone of our practice. But in today's times, trust me, understanding a business is very important. You need to understand how a chemical business runs, how our automobile industry is set up, what are the regulations, what are the collaborations, how do they market their products, how do they have agreements with vendors, with suppliers, with auto component suppliers, the financial fintech practice. How is fintech practice built? You need to understand the nut and bolt of a business. You should be, if you want, many lawyers many times complain, they have a complaining tone, saying that the management, when they take decisions with regard to M&A or a private equity or a merger or diversification or whatever, they don't take lawyers in the discussion. Why do they don't take lawyers, or why do they don't take you in the discussion? Because we don't understand business. So my request is, in US and Europe, if you find, the in-house counsels are very much part of the decision-making process of any business. Whenever they want to expand, diversify, sell, merge, buy, whatever they want, whatever business decision that they take, they are part. The lawyers, the team of lawyers, is part of the decision-making body. Why are they part of the decision-making body? Because they understand business. So it's time has come where you really need to spend some time, and it is not difficult, friends. It is really not difficult. Your question will be, how do I learn? And your second question will be, how many industries do I need to understand? So my request is, spend some time. You don't need to understand all the businesses or all the industries, but broadly, the financial services, the IT sector, the healthcare sector. So treat them as sectors and understand broadly how these sectors run, how these industries operate. There are enough material available from Harvard, from Forbes, or enough material on the net today, which will explain you the intricacies of this business. If you understand intricacies of this business, if you like some business, I would request you to please go deep into that business, the business model. If you look at any large auto company on their website, there is enough material in that on the website, which will show their business models, how they run business. So my request is, you need to understand business. Understanding contract law, civil procedure code, criminal procedure code, understanding competition law, SEBI, this is all fine. Along with that, you need to understand business models. You need to understand how collaborations happen and why collaborations happen. You need to understand the brand positions. You need to understand why brands take precedence over the marketing rights. So you need to understand the business model. Now, why I'm saying this, in India, as I mentioned just few minutes back, there are 3.5 to 4 crore SME and MSMEs. Now, if you understand the business models, you will be not only be able to help the Indian companies to grow, to be compliant, but also you'll be able to contribute their growth story. You'll be able to really participate in their decision making, and that's where you will be able to have a better respect from the clients and better revenue model from the client. The third point I would like to mention is that you need to really spend time on soft skills. Soft skills here, I would include in the soft skills not just working on virtual conferences or meeting, that kind of stuff, but you need, because every business, as I mentioned, has a global footprint. You will really need to understand the cultures of different jurisdictions. Working on different time zones is a challenge in itself. You need to really understand how can we, when we are working on a team with your counterparts in different parts of the world, you will need to understand their culture. You need to understand their way of functioning, their way of networking, their way of talking, their time zones, the hierarchy. It is very difficult when we are on virtual meetings. It is difficult to find, difficult to adjust and accommodate vis-a-vis the hierarchy of people working in the different zones. So these are the skills which you really need to master. And trust me, these are the skills. Even if you don't understand any provision of law, or you don't know, it's not good. But you can politely say that, look, I will read, I will study and come back to you. But if you miss out, or if you misbehave in any on a virtual meeting, or or otherwise, if you are not compatible with the global teams, you will be immediately thrown out of the system. So my request is, you will really need to spend time in understanding global practices, global best practices, global best practices of collaboration. How do you collaborate? When you work in collaboration, how do you function? How do you listen to someone else? How do you say that you are? How do you argue virtually, or how do you position your point on virtual screens where you are not visible to people? Your tone only it makes a lot of difference over there. So my request is, you really need to spend time on understanding softer skills as to how, when you act with the people from across the globe, how are you going to really carry yourself and command a respect for your work, and also respect as a professional vis-a-vis the global world. You want to add, Ramanuj, anything on this?
Sir, quickly to add something, I think, I mean, these are spot on things. I think there are a lot of, this is a little long-term planning. Of course, this was true even before the COVID thing happened, and after all, it is becoming even more important. Earlier, people could still manage some way or the other. There was a lot of bias and force. Like, for example, lot of things people found unfair in the legal system, that a lot of things depended on your connections, etc. Those things still matter, but I think it is becoming there's a leveling of the playing field in a way that new people with fresh faces and new ideas can come and implement new ideas, and there's a lot of opportunity to excel for. And it would depend on your skills and your your brand that you develop over time, your reputation you develop over. I mean, there is opportunity in a great way. I mean, there's an immediate opportunity that got created that was not there before. And if you can throw some light on that, like, what are the more immediate fallouts, that will be great. Like, for example, there are some of the people are asking this question also, and I'm sure they have it on their mind, that I'm a young lawyer right now. What should I do right away in the next 15 days, next 3 months, next 6 months, 1 year? What should I do? How do I use this lockdown time in a better way? Or somebody who's graduating, in the next 1 year or 2 year or next 6 months, they are worried that, will I find a job? What should I do? What should I learn? What skill should I learn that I'll have a better chance of getting a job? So I think you can start in this area, and there are further questions that I can.
Sure. So I would immediately tell all the young lawyers who are just clearing the law, or who have cleared in just 3-4 months have passed, the very fresh lawyers, and they are just looking at the world at large. I would say, please study the impact of COVID, because this is really big time opportunity, whether it is litigation, collaborations, corporate work, or otherwise. It is a big time opportunity. Just go to a couple of articles and see, first of all, what is the impact of COVID on the various industries. Go deep into that, and really master this correctly. This, Ramanuj, I know, as we are talking as if it is a small event. No, it is not a small event. Trust me, the impact of COVID is going to remain. At least it will hound us, or our practices will revolve around the COVID lockdown for at least 3 to 4 years. and it will impact in different levels, different industry, different sectors. So my earnest request to all young lawyers is immediately get down to net, download couple of good articles, study, analyze for yourself, and not just don't read and just keep forwarding articles on the. No, you have to analyze yourself. Start putting notes, start putting small articles, small posts. Study what senior experts or industry experts are talking about the impact of COVID. And this itself, to my mind, is a very detailed work, and it is evolving. So it is not as if you have to study only whatever has happened till yesterday. No, the situation is evolving. So please keep a separate folder, separate file with yourself. Once you go through the entire impact, find out what is the area of your interest. Once you get the area of interest, go deep into that area of interest. Don't just live like this. Suppose, if, for example, if someone thinks that I want to understand financial sector and the impact of COVID on financial sector, you need to understand the impact of in other sectors as well. But if you think you like the financial sector, go deep into that. Specialize into that, and make your presence felt by other people. When I'm saying make your presence felt by your own idea of analysis, you will have to analyze, understand the impact, and analyze for yourself. It is, don't just cut and paste or copy what others are saying. Trust me, there is enough material, and the material what is coming again, these are the first hand interpretations. So it is, you should also contribute your own analysis, your own position. But that will come only when you yourself study it carefully, analyze, think, articulate very well from different perspectives, and start putting it. Put small articles, keep small articles. You don't want to post anywhere. Start putting notes, start collecting articles, start compartmentalizing it from industry perspective, process perspective. That's how you'll have to be really, really ready for the next onslaught.
So I just want to share something very quickly. It's important that you study the countries in which COVID started earlier. So, for example, when we saw what happened in China, what happened in Italy, it gave us a clear indication of what is going to happen in India. And very early on, we decided that we are going to shut down our offices so that nobody falls sick. Because anybody falls sick, it affects the entire business. So we told everybody to work from home. And much before any curfew was announced by government, everybody was working from home. We are well stocked up. We are fully prepared for this. And because of that, today the business continued to work really well. So that is in a very short term. But in long term also, since last, we have been apprehending a recession. Since last May, it seemed that the business is slowing down. In August, it slowed down further. Stock exchanges, started showing faltering. In September, things went down a bit.
Yes.
After things came back up, but we did not believe that that the fundamentals of the economy are strong, because of which we continue to kind of prepare ourselves. For example, we identified the subjects in which there will be a higher demand, so accordingly launched those courses. But that happened because we studied, number one, other countries as to what happened there, and we also started studying what happened in previous instances of similar situation. So we studied that, okay, what happened in the 2009 recession, what happened in other countries, what happened in Ireland during 2009, what happened in USA during 2008-9, even earlier recessions before. Even now you can learn a lot from what happened during the Spanish flu.
Absolutely.
So you have to see parallels and what happened in the history, because history repeats. So once you can see what happened there, you will get a lot of clarity on what's going to happen in India. So for example, in China, although they're saying it is contained, we know that it's not fully contained, and still they're having to lift the lockdown because they have no choice. The economy cannot take the pressure of a lockdown beyond maximum 1 or 2 months, even in a country which is very rich like China. In India, it will be even more unsustainable to go on having lockdowns like this, which means we must prepare for a high level of casualty if the lockdown is lifted. I mean, you can foresee, in some ways what's going to happen if lockdown continues for 2 months, 3 months. People wouldn't have money to eat. I mean, and 80% people in the country wouldn't have.
See, it is possible that the young lawyers who are passing out this year or may have just passed, they may not get jobs immediately. Or it is possible that students will not get internship. In fact, I am toying with this idea of, if my thought process on the virtual internship, what I have mentioned to you. And I hope that virtual internship becomes a reality sooner or later. But it is possible, my young friends, that because of the economic slowdown, there will be some kind of brunt and some kind of backlash or some kind of setback. But don't get disheartened with this setback. This setback is, I would say, is
Temporary.
temporary, and you should treat this as an opportunity. Now, again, my request is, look, what is a lawyer? Let me just. How much time do you have, Amanuj?
Sir, we have as much time as you want. I mean,
No, no. So, my request is, what is the job of a lawyer? We provide solutions. How do we provide solutions? We provide solutions not by looking at book, but by understanding the facts and applying our mind constructively to find solutions. But we take this opportunity. And leaders don't wait for others to instruct. And I would think all those who have taken legal profession as their profession, I would think that the lawyers are every lawyer is a leader in himself. He may be big, small, or otherwise, but the fact that you are solution provider, the fact that you are expected to provide solution, means that you are a leader. You have to be a leader come what may, and you have to lead your own career, your own profession. So don't wait for a job from a law firm. Don't wait for a job from a senior lawyer or other. Don't wait for others to drive your career. You are on the race, on the marathon race. Now, once you have passed your legal examination or whatever, once you are a lawyer, then you are on that starting point. Now the race, you have to run your own race. You have to guide yourself. You may be slow, doesn't matter. You may get frustrated by seeing the pace of the other colleagues. Don't get frustrated. The point I'm trying to make here is, you have to think peacefully where you want to go, what subjects you want to practice, how do you want to take your career, and don't be afraid of making mistakes. Tomorrow, supposing you have thought of studying some subject or some way of practice, which may be wrong, doesn't matter. There is always right turn, left turn, or if not, you take a U-turn. So my request is, you have to start taking lead into your career. You have to drive your own career. Don't wait for others to, or don't wait for instructions. You have to start giving instructions to yourself first. Look, this is what I have to do. This is how I will progress. Your competition has to be with your own self. Your competition cannot be with your colleague. Don't bother or don't worry about your colleague passing out. Last year he has passed and he has become a senior associate, or he has become whatever in the other law firm. That is not the parameter of success. You have to be, as Anubhav says, you have to be proactive. You have to be absolutely proactive. You have to be constructive, and more importantly, you have to be positive about your efforts. And more importantly, last point I would like to mention is, your action will make you really go. It is not the talking. It is not the discussion. It is your own action that will make. Now, just for example, I was told, I read the article read by Ramanuj. He has written a beautiful piece on the current situation. He has captured, it's a 5,000 words article which he just sent me in the evening before I came on the call. And he has really taken hard work in writing that article. Just go through that article and you will understand what exactly could happen in the different sectors and what you need to do. Ramanuj, can we take questions?
Yeah, we can take questions. Sir, just wanted to add one bit to what you said.
Sure.
Is that there are problems. Whenever there is a problem, there is a great opportunity for a lawyer to do something. So, and only problem will happen is that when you go by a fixed mind that this is how things used to happen, this is how my elder brother did law practice, or my uncle did law practice, and I'm going to do this. That is not going to happen. That is for certain. That will get you into trouble. But as long as you look for problems in the market that remains unaddressed, and you offer a solution, and it may take you 6 months, 1 year, 2 years to figure out the solution. But once you figure out, or once you get it right, then there's no stopping, right? And
absolutely,
that should be your only focus. It doesn't matter you get a job in a law firm or a company. If you want to get a job in a law firm, that is also a problem which can be solved by figuring out how to, what remains unaddressed and how to solve it. But even other than that, there is so much opportunity right now that is not there. That was not there before. A lot of opportunities just got created, and a lot of people will be willing to take chances on you now rather than before. So for a novice person, for somebody who's just starting out, there was no better time, provided you have the skills. You have to develop the skills, you have to develop the solutions, like I said. And once you do that, there is no stopping. So, sir, please proceed, sir, with the next point. You want to do question
No,
and
we can do. Can your team post some questions or read the questions and come back?
I will read them out, sir. No
Yeah,
problem.
can you read out some questions?
Yeah. So somebody is asking about the article. I have sent it out as email already, but we'll share it. It will be on IP Traders blog today and everywhere. We'll share it with you, all of you. Okay. So I remember seeing some very interesting questions. So one question is, everyone has their own perspective. According to me, spending 50-60 lakhs and then coming back to India, starting a job of around 40-50K will not serve the justice. This is for, I think, going abroad. Is there any point of going and doing an LLM abroad at this point? This is the question. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, I have faced this question many times as to whether we should do LLM or we should not do LLM. So it's a personal choice whether you should do LLM or not. Sometimes it depends upon how you take up the opportunity or how you look at that LLM degree. If you look at that opportunity as going abroad and talking to some understanding international practices or international law, that is different matter. But friends, in the current situation, I don't think so it will be a good idea to go for LLM, because even many law colleges will not offer you a position to come there and do LLM. They may offer an online course. So if it is online is available, I think you should take online course, and maybe at some later stage you can go and do some internship or do something different.
Yes, and also the question is, why we want to do an LLM? Because a lot of people look at LLM as a solution for all their career problems. It's not.
No, not at all. Not I don't subscribe to that idea that LLM is an answer to your career. Not at all. Your actual involvement, or you're putting, dirting your hands on the practice itself is going to make you successful. You will have to deep dive into your practice. It is not the degrees that will make you successful. Otherwise, you have to really practice yourself. Spend hours and hours in reading law, understanding solutions, understanding practices of other people. Tell me, 15-20 years back, did Falin Nariman or did Soli Sorabji or did all the senior lawyers, did they do any LLM or otherwise for their practice? How did they grow in career?
So, sir, another thing is that apart from reading books, they should also spend time with businessmen, understanding their problems. That is also a great.
See, understanding that's exactly what I said in the previous earlier part of my discussion. Understanding the business is very important. And how do you understand the business? Let me just repeat. There are really good articles on Harvard. There are good articles from Forbes. There are good articles from other portals where they explain what is a business model. And my request is, please study the international business models. It is not, of course, Indian business lawyers, you must understand, but you need to really study international business models, because that is what the global businesses are going to look like.
And sir, even we take the same approach while teaching law in LawSikho, that whenever we teach anything, we teach the business behind it. So if you're teaching any investment law, we also talk about how the investment industry works, rather than just talking about the agreements and everything.
Absolutely correct.
Sir, there is a question about labor and employment law, how this is going to be of importance, because there are so many, given COVID issue, how will employment and labor law work?
Yeah, when we spoke of how COVID is going to impact labor and tax, everything is going to get impacted. In fact, I would say that in the last budget, the finance minister announced said that there are some 11 lakhs cases pending in the tax matters. Now, I think we need to find some solution to that. This is the right time to find solution for those tax matters. Some 11 lakh crores, I don't know the number of the matters, but some 11 lakh crore rupees is stuck in the litigation vis-a-vis the tax tribunals. So these are the opportunities to my mind. Even labor, as far as labor is concerned, yes, you are right. There will be a lot of issues. People will want to fire employees. People will want to cut down their salaries, cut down their promotions. So there will be issues on labor. Supposing that there is a closure of a plant, there will be obviously there will be issue of how are going to handle with the labor law, because the government will not allow you to close down the factories and that kind of stuff. So there will be opportunity for that itself.
Interestingly, in all advanced economies, starting from USA to UK to Dubai, everywhere, labor and employment law is a major area of work for lawyers. Not in India so much. But I think it is a matter of time that it would happen, and this COVID thing might just accelerate that trend.
Absolutely. I am seeing one question from Nikita. She's saying, how would 2020 law graduates prepare to get placement in corporate law firm? It's too late. If you are not prepared yourself by now, it is too late. To get placed in 2020, you have to prepare at least 2 years in advance.
Yes, but you can prepare for 2022, no problem. Yes, you can go to a smaller law firm and then slowly make your way up to a big
Absolutely,
law.
absolutely.
Yes.
There is someone who says technology industry proving services like AI, Bitcoin. Yes, absolutely. They grow multiple. GST practice. I don't know what will be the government stand now on, because government may change certain rules on GST again. What is the scope of in-house lawyers? Yes, you are right. I mentioned in fact that in-house counsels or in-house lawyers, if they really seriously work in understanding their business, to my mind, they will have a fantastic opportunity. This is the opportunity if you really prove yourself that you understand business, you understand global practices, global best practices, compliances, and the business ups and downs. You will be taken up immediately in the management discussions.
Questions are pouring in like at a torrential speed before we can. So
what is the scope of? No, I'll quickly pick up. IBC work will improve, but again it depends on what RBI takes the view on the NPAs. What will the scope of IPR? IPR again, IPR. To my mind, IPR you can't isolate. It will be part of the M&A practice or M&A acquisitions and mergers. So it will also have its own impact. As a mediator, what will be the advantages? I don't know. Honestly, it depends upon how.
Will have a lot of work because people will try to avoid going to litigation. If mediation can solve it, then it would be
Correct.
good. So good mediator is a good opportunity right now in the market.
I'm glad, Ramanuj, that the questions which the lawyers are asking, they're asking on industries. That's very interesting, and this is exactly the point I mentioned. That look, you need to really understand the businesses. Unless you understand the business, the intricacies of business, how it is conducted, what are the downfalls, what are the advantages, disadvantages, what is the global position of that business. Unless you understand the business intricacies, you will not be in a position to be the corporate advisor or corporate lawyer.
Sir, you are talking to the Lawsico community. This is how we talk. So these are the terms on which we always engage. So I'm not surprised.
How do seniors see online courses like from Lawsico? We're saying, how do seniors see the online courses like from Lawsico? I like it. I love what Ramanuj is doing. He knows that.
Yes. Okay.
What would be the impact, COVID impact on telecom sector? Telecom sector is already struggling with the given AGR.
It couldn't go any worse. But they are making more money, I think, in the last. They might be the only sector very happy because there is more data and more calls being made. So the infrastructure is being used more. So their revenue might increase.
Absolutely. No, they will have a better. To my mind, communication technologies the IT companies working in communication technologies will really, really boom in the next coming time. Yes. NBFC sector, yes, will suffer a setback. How does young independent lawyer foray into big geographical international markets for corporate advisory content? By working hard, by proving your mettle, by proving your capabilities. Media and entertainment will change. A lot of online content will start getting developed. So on media and entertainment, I see that people will now focus more on the content rather than on the geographical locations, because travel is going to get really, really affected. So I see at least in the new projects which will come up, they may try to tweak the content so that it's local and it's more in-house.
Yes. So there was one question about how about trade law, not about trade law. Any thoughts on trade law? International trade. I don't think we can stop international trade. It will probably continue.
No, we cannot stop. In fact, we will want international trade. In fact, I would think what will happen is, once the manufacturing of China, I would not say that the entire manufacturing, but at least at some part of manufacturing, once it shifts to India, the international trade will obviously increase. Once we become part of the global supply chain, obviously the international trade will change.
Dikshita is asking about transactional lawyers, and I must say that I don't think any transactional lawyers will have lack of work. Maybe very short-term disturbances, maybe
No.
problems in law firms, but money.
No, the first work for transactional lawyer is to relook at the existing contracts and see whether they can renegotiate the contracts. That itself is a big time work.
Big time, and also
Renegotiating renegotiating a contract is really big time work than preparing a fresh contract. Because in fresh contract, you can take up positions. In when you renegotiate a contract, you can't take positions. You know the positions are set, and you are trying to change the practices.
yes. And not only that, you'll have a lot of M&A happening later on, as we discussed.
Yes,
And there will be a lot of
absolutely.
investment required or some refinancing required. So a lot of work will happen in that. Somebody asked about NBFC also. There will be loosening of credit. There will be government
Yes.
have to make sure that money is going, and they will prefer to lend the money through private entities than through their own money, I guess.
See, lending has its own different problem altogether. It depends upon the quality of the asset that you are investing, and quality of the people managing that asset. So, lending has its own impact. Honestly, its own parameters are there.
Yeah, but lending has to happen in this environment, quite sure.
I agree with you. I don't say, but we don't have a good history of repayment.
Yes, but private banks have done well, generally speaking. There is a
Yes.
question on, sir, is it possible for students of LLM in constitutional administrative law to join litigation department of law firms?
Yes. Why not? Why not? What if you have done LLM in constitutional administrative law? Does it mean that you have forgotten all the other law that you have studied?
Yeah, so you need to demonstrate interest and expertise in other litigation.
Absolutely. See, just because you have taken up something else doesn't stop you from working on the other subjects. By that logic, I passed out law in 1991. My practice would have got stopped because after I passed law, SEBI came into picture, competition law came, the telecom regulatory came, insurance regulatory came, banking regulatory came. So all regulatory framework started only post 1991.
So one question I think Anubhav is asking, it's a fundamental question. Why would there be a breach of contract? Aren't there provisions for force majeure clauses which devise a solution for this situation?
No, because the point is force majeure as it is defined or as it is come in the various statutes of law doesn't very strictly cover the COVID situation. Now we'll have to really the legal fraternity is divided in this, and therefore we really need to see what is the case law, what is the jurisprudence on force majeure vis-a-vis various countries, and then come to some logical conclusion.
Not only that, even if it is covered by force majeure, then you will hire good lawyers to figure out how to get out
Yes.
of and still litigate and try and at least get some money.
Yes. Ramit Rana says at section 56, he's right. Section 56, frustration of contract, that is the section which will get triggered.
Yes, but then you can argue that it won't get triggered. There'll always be lawyers who will figure out a way to argue each and every one.
But I would think, why close that position? Why not have both the arguments open so that every lawyer will have work?
There's a
Yes,
question.
Puneet says that there will be impact on data protection and data privacy in India. You are right, absolutely, because if we are going virtual and we're talking on
Working from
conference calls
people are carrying
and working from home also, all these things is going to have a huge impact on data protection. That's what when I started, I said that IT is going to boom because every company will want to go online or go virtual and use technology. So along with that, we will really need to study the data protection law. Best book for M&A practice, I would say, who is this? There's no name. 1+71. I don't know what is that. So, best book for, if you can't put your own name, what's the point of having a conference call?
Yes, you should configure
you are lawyer. You should be you should be bold and be forthright with your names and with your character.
You should edit your username, okay?
Edit your username and be bold to face the world. However, if you write a good article, will you write under this name? Anyway.
So Anubhav Srivastava is asking how it will impact litigation lawyers. I think we answered this, but I think there's something that remains unanswered. I'll quickly just make a comment on that. Is that see, courts may be closed, but clients are not closed and your business is not closed. You have to reach out to people and start seeing that what problems they are having, offer to help them figure out what's happening. Because you can predict a lot of what is going to happen. And so start giving them that advice, and soon when they'll have the problem and the problem start materializing, they'll come to you for proper legal.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Construction sector, Shreya is asking what will happen to construction sector in India. I see a slightly difficult situation, because if you see the construction workers are migrating back to their home places. Now I see a bit of a challenge there, because even if something, they will come back, sure, but at the same time, till such time they really come back safe and healthy, the construction sites will get impacted, I would say.
Yeah, not only that, there'll be poor sentiment on buying, real estate at the moment. Well, there may be some government spending on infrastructure, though, so that might save them to an extent.
One question is, how do we start M&A practice? No, not just M&A practice, any practice for that matter. When you want to start, you will have to first prove your capability in that practice. You have to demonstrate and prove that you are knowledgeable, you understand the sector, service line, and that's how you will enter the practice. There is no rocket science, or there is no prescription available, or there is no book available as to these are the 5 steps you follow and you start the practice. No, it is your capability, your understanding of the subject, your capability of dealing with the situation, or the matters, or the facts of the case, and your understanding of the previous matters, jurisprudence, all that makes a lot of difference. So that's how you start any practice, whether it is M&A, labor, IPR, or whatever. Your understanding of the subject, secondly, your own contribution to that subject in the form of articles, or articulating your thought process on that subject. That's important.
Shreyans is asking, will law firms retain their lawyers after COVID-19?
I think so. I don't see any. Trust me, I don't think so. Any Indian law firm is going to remove any lawyer, because once this is over, the work is going to increase for law firms. So I don't think so. Law firms will remove any lawyer. This is my personal view. Don't take it otherwise. But I don't see any that kind of retrenchment happening in the.
It's a prediction. Yes. There is a question on how to provide legal services pro bono in rural areas. Rishi is asking, very interesting question.
Yeah, rural areas will need lot of support. It is not just why only pro bono. Rural in fact, Ramanuj, if you ask me, the 2-tier and 3-tier cities are really happening places. If you see in Pune, Nashik, Satara, Sangli, Surat, Ahmedabad, Indore, the 2-tier cities have lot of work, really lot of work. Now, only thing is, they may you may not have companies like the companies that you have in Bombay or Delhi or otherwise, but there is enough work. There are also startups in those areas. It is a question of how do you reach out to people, how do you make yourself relevant, how do you position yourself as a solution provider to those people.
Yes.
Unfortunately, what happens in smaller cities, I see company secretaries, lawyers, or other professionals also. They only think that they are here to advise on compliance. And I again repeat on my point that you need to understand the business and contribute to the business. If you are able to contribute to the business, trust me, you will be valued, you will be paid, and you will be also engaged by small time people.
I think this is the most important message I would say, that you have to provide solutions, because even when I visit a lot of smaller cities and go and talk to the people there, the advocates say there is no work here, and I am shocked. How can there be no work here? It is only thing is that they think that we have to go appear in the court and argue like all the senior lawyers.
No, not at all. See, I tell you, I know a lot of startups. Their documentation is poor. Their compliance is worst. So that is the big time area. There are 3.5 crore SME and MSME. Where are you? If you provide a solution, affordable solution to those people, and provide meaningful solutions, trust me, friend, there is enough work.
Exactly. Okay. So
I think Ramanuj, you have covered lot of subjects, and I think that this will be of good discussion points for actionable points we have spoken to the lawyers, and I hope they all take advantage of that. Stay safe, stay at home, friends, and Don't be adventurous as far as health is concerned. You can be adventurous in your practice.
And I see a lot of questions which remained unanswered, but don't worry, sir has promised to come back again. I think either on Tuesday or Wednesday to have another session, so you can ask more questions that day. Okay. So
Sure.
thank you so much, sir, for sharing your time and insights. And
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Ramanuj. Thank you. Bye.
thank you.